From America's beautiful coastal beaches to the hilltops of mountains far reaching, or even the gorgeous look of red rock in the desert, to a nice, vibrant day in a buzzing major metropolitan city, Americans are talking, and well, they're working too. And no matter which way a state votes, we're all still Americans in this large country of 300 million people. So here today to bring you America's perspectives are Matt Curran, Javen Polson, Gabriela Escudero, and Michelle Ferretta on Coast to Coast Conversations.
That's right, everybody. Welcome in to another episode of Coast to Coast Conversations. We're here going to have some good conversations on immigration, Michigan Senate race, and some business mergers. Now that Donald J. Trump's back in office, a lot of businesses are hoping to get through the Federal Trade Commission again. But don't forget, if you're on YouTube, to comment. We can chat with you live. We'll throw it up there. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, theological insights, feel free to let us know. And we'll be monitoring X as well. So, Javen, it's been a while. Welcome back.
Yeah, I want to say I just noticed that we've changed the intro, and I like it.
Okay, good man, good. Where have you been? Give us a little snippet.
Oh my goodness,
where Javen's been?
Where have I been? So I've been working. So I'm back in the state of Louisiana, working still with the same organization, and I've been doing a lot of traveling within state and talking to our partners here. So I'll say that, oh my gosh. So working a lot with those who are for school choice, working with a lot of those who are for lowering income taxes, lowering things like that. So that's really what I've been doing. We just met with the governor today, so that's exciting stuff. So it's good we're getting our foot in the door there. So that's why I have not been on here lately, because I've been trying to get my name out there, organization's name out there, and kind of get us on the map. So yeah, been doing that, been having a great time at the same time.
Well, that sounds like fun. Well, why don't we go ahead and start with immigration today? Donald J. Trump's been putting a lot of worst first folks, pulling them out of the country. I don't know if you've seen the raids that's been going on with what's his name, Tom. I can't remember the last name. Starts with an H, but he's been doing a great job getting these illegals out from all sorts of like criminals that people typically agree with. And the left is having a hard time trying to attack Donald Trump on this. But I don't really have any clips at the moment. But if you listen carefully, I want everyone to kind of have their eyes and ears. You'll notice that the left's just saying, oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, they roll their eyes. We agree with that, too. But the worst is yet to come. Like, Donald Trump's not going to stop there. Do you think Donald Trump's going to stop at some point, or is he just going to keep going by getting criminals? Like, where's the line for Donald Trump? And are you worried, Javen?
Yeah, so with the left, the videos, I've seen a lot of videos with you have these workers that are saying, I got to hide because ICE is coming for me. I'm going to say most of those folks probably aren't going to be on ICE's radar because it looks like they're doing an upstanding job and adding to society. And if you can think about that Selena Gomez video, I'm sure everyone's seen it by now, but her crying, saying, my people are being taken. What's happened to my people? Like, ma'am, if your people are the ones that Donald Trump are going after, you need to reassess who you hang yourself, who you hang around, because Trump is going after criminals, those who are breaking the law, those who are not adding to our society. So, do I think he's going to stop anytime soon? I hope he doesn't when it comes to the criminals, because I mean those are the ones that really need to be addressed and be deported, because those are the ones that are giving a bad name to those who may still come here illegally but are trying to do good for their family. Now, I'm not saying it's okay if you come here illegally, but I mean I'm kind of in the mindset of kind of what Reagan did, was those here illegally who are adding to society, amnesty. Okay, we'll just start clean from there. Some Republicans on the really right won't agree with that, but it's going to take so many resources to round up every single one of them. The criminals are easier because they're in the system. Those are the ones that we know about. It's hard to get those who are undocumented and who are still adding to society. So do I think to stop? Probably not. How far I think he'll go? Will he extend to non-criminals? That's a great question. I think he won't, because he'll get a lot more pushback there, especially when it comes to thinking about the workforce. I mean, think about, I know right outside where I live, a few blocks down, we have a restaurant that's redoing their their lines for their parking lots. And I know that they're probably doing it in an archaic way, but I'm sure a lot of other folks won't be willing to go do that kind of work for the pay they're doing. Because the pay they're doing at probably is not the same pay that you'd get the average American citizen doing at. So that's things you'll have to consider. And I'm sure he has smart people around him that will say, Mr. President, I understand we want all legal immigrants, but one, that's virtually impossible because they're undocumented. And two, it's going to really strain the economy, an economy that's already hurting at the moment. And not to get too bogged down, but we saw the Fed not willing to cut rates, meaning that they're seeing inflation not at the number they wanted to see it at.
Let me ask you this. I that kind of answers my question. I guess my question is, okay, so he stops with like the violent criminals. Let's say, somebody who's been here illegally for 6 months, a male. Okay, let's just say he's 25 years old, male, crossed border illegally, clearly knows what he's doing. He crossed it illegally, but he hasn't committed a violent crime here yet. If Javen was president, deport that guy or not?
He would not be my top priority. But if I'm a law enforcement officer and I see this guy ask for his papers or his ID or something, I realize he's illegal, he's going to go back. But I'm not going to exhaust resources to go find this guy when there's other gang members and other violent criminals out there, illegal immigrants out there that are actually harming our communities and society.
Right.
Right.
But at some point, this is my theory, and this is where I think the Democrats' theory goes. And I do agree with the Democrats' theory with this. It's more of a gamble, which is at some point the well dries up of the worst. Get the worst first. Like you get all the worst first people, and then you kind of get it out to an even level, and then they just kind of get beep bopping along like 2 or 3 years in.
Yeah.
Then you have to make the decision in year 3 of a Trump administration. Now that you have all these resources and you have enough people that can get the worst first, in that scenario, would Javen get that 25-year-old male fresh across the border, not living here for 15 years?
I'm hoping President Javen Folson would have the border closed. So I think that's a big part of it. Is if Trump's priority is to close the border and get it shut down, then we won't have that 25-year-old male coming across in the first place. But if we had that 25-year-old coming here in the first place, yeah, go ahead and send him back in the scenario that, hey, all the criminals are out. Still focus on that, but we're not going to allow this 25-year-old to possibly add a society or possibly be a criminal. Let's be proactive instead of reactive.
Okay, now what do you think about? Because I agree with you too. Like as far as the order of it, the border first, and if it happens to be a thing. But the Democrats seem like they're taking a gamble. Like the moment that kind of person gets deported, that's when they're gonna have all hell break loose, and they can just go blow up the media. Because right now, Trump and the Republicans have the Democrats where they want them. They're depressed. They can't really stop it. They're not able to stop any of these confirmations. Trump's got an above 50% approval rating as president for the first time of either of his presidencies. It's literally all in the Trump and Republicans' court, okay, for them to mess up. And the Democrats can't seem to find a hole. So they're playing a long game hole. And I think it could work out. It could work out. It all just depends on dynamics leading up to it. But that's a smart play. Now, here's one that they might have a hole in, but to get. But it's still kind of popular with the American people. But to me, it's unconstitutional the way Donald Trump did it, just like with DACA, which was the no birthright citizenship. I'm in favor of no birthright citizenship. However, I don't think it should or can be constitutionally done through an executive order. I think it needs to go through Congress, just like DACA needs to be done through Congress. You cannot just have a president magically wave a pen and change immigration law. I know Barack Obama did that. Doesn't make it right for Donald Trump to do that. And Donald Trump in his first term did the right thing, trying to overturn DACA. And then the Supreme Court made it like doubly unconstitutional, saying that Donald Trump can't undo an executive order. So I want to know Javen's thoughts on the 14th Amendment, birthright citizenship, constitutional, not constitutional, favor, not favor. Where does Javen Folson stand?
Yeah, I think birthright citizenship It's constitutional because it's in the Constitution. So I mean, if that's you're asking, it's in the Constitution, so it's
I don't. It
constitutional.
just says naturally born citizen. It doesn't say somebody born on soil, and it's defined by Congress. That's also a thing that's
Yeah,
in there too.
yeah. I mean, so am I for birthright citizenship? In theory, yes, but as soon as we start applying it, those people abuse it. They overuse, not use it, but they abuse it, and we kind of get a situation that Trump's shedding light on. I personally don't see a big enough problem for birthright citizenship, bigger than we're seeing illegal immigration and border security. I think that should be priority. And if we're seeing birthright citizenship actually being something that is diminishing and a threat to our national security, then yeah, I'm all for getting it outside the Constitution. But at this point, I really haven't seen numbers and studies and findings that show that birthright citizenship is doing more harm to our national security than failed immigration policy and a failed border security.
Well, okay, so that's the thing. It's failed immigration policy. It's a reason that attracts people to come here illegally and have these, anchor babies. Now I know Gabrielle's not with us. She's technically an anchor baby, so she would obviously have a difference of opinion. And again, I don't think all anchor babies are bad people and all this stuff. I just think, look, food is not evil. Food inherently is not evil. But when the government gives out food, then you have like an EBT or food stamps, and we just lower standards for it, then you inherently have more people not working and taking advantage of the benefits. The food is not the evil. The citizenship is not the evil. It's the incentive to get the food. It's the incentive to get the citizenship. And I think we need to change the structure of how to become a citizen and how to get, the food stamps, right? So that's my opinion on it. I would disagree that it's unconstitutional for Congress to do it, because the 14th Amendment came after the Civil War, and its original intent was for the slaves.
Yeah,
that's what they meant by naturally born citizens. And they weren't talking about immigration; they were talking about slaves that were, here in the United States.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, you're right. And for those who are listening, so birthright citizenship is a legal right to citizenship for all children born in the country, regardless of their parents' origin of country. So if you have two parents who are from Mexico and they come to America and have a baby in America, that baby is an American citizen.
Yep.
No questions asked. So, but coming back to this, I can see the problem in it, because then we have the question of, okay, so we have two parents who have a child, two illegal immigrant parents who have a child in America. Okay, so now what do we do? Do we deport these parents and leave the child here? I mean, by law, yes. I think by law you would do that. But so then we kind of go that slippery slope of, okay, so do we amend it by saying, no, if you have a child here, you can stay here legally? So I can see the problem with it. I just don't see it being the biggest problem right now, because I haven't seen in large swaths of numbers the criminals, the drug lords coming over with their pregnant wife or child, or not child, pregnant wife or mother, whatever, having a child and then trying to stay here. Because I truly believe most people who do it do want a better future for their child, and we can't get mad at them for that. And that's the problem for me.
Okay, well, the birthright citizenship that you're referring to, before we get to Blaine's question, is more about green card holders and visa people coming over here on tourism and then having a baby. That not necessarily that they're illegal. Maybe they came in legally for a vacation and they're having their kid at the Grand Canyon. I don't know, right? So it's a lot more than just they came over illegally and did this as well. I have a question. What if you were born here by illegal parents and it's found out when you're 21? Are you deported still if birthright citizenship is banned? Well, look, if you do something like this, you're gonna have to grandfather people in. That's why we have DACA. I'm in favor of DACA, which is deferred action for children, minors, and stuff. Because I think if you were brought here illegally as a minor, and it's not really your fault, right? And I think that should remain the case too, especially these drug cartel people who have previously brought people over for sex trafficking or asylum claims to get people in. For those of you who don't know, like if you have a kid, they don't verify if you're the parent or not at the border. They just say, "Oh, is this your kid?" Yes. Awesome. Well, we'll give you an asylum claim to come into the country because you're scared and your family. Okay, great. And then they just ditch the kid. That's why you see all those videos under the Biden administration of just like random kids kind of going all over the place in the desert. And Border Patrol has to take care of them, and then they're abandoned. And the most horrific one was somebody letting go of I think it was like a 2 or 3 year old kid on like a 15-year-old or a 15-foot border wall, and that kid was hobbling away, breaking his leg.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. But
Yeah. So, I mean, I
it,
would say my question would be if this is rescinded and we no longer have birthright citizenship, then we have to replace it with something because the question would be what makes us American citizens? Is it our parents because they're citizens, but also what makes them citizens? So you kind of have to answer that question too. If they do away with this birthright citizenship, I mean, do you have an answer to that, Matt? What would make us citizens if they do away with birthright citizenship?
no, the Constitution just says whatever Congress says it is, right? Just like any other country, it's whatever the assembly or the government says citizenship is, right? So citizenship is not necessarily a defined thing. It's at the moment you have to kind of judge it, and that's why we gave wiggle room in a constitution for it, right? At the beginning, well, you had settlers and you had immigrants. Okay, so the way we understand borders now was not how we understood borders in the Revolutionary War. People were coming by ship. We were still discovering Indian tribes. You got people coming in from all over different places, like and technology evolves, right? So we didn't hunker ourselves into like this is how immigration works. I would just say, yeah, we would just define people as of now, either here in the country, we can grandfather people in, or you were born to a parent who was an American citizen,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, that would
Like
make cool.
John McCain, like I know you love John McCain. He was, I don't know if you know this, but I guess the Panama Canal was technically United States soil at the time, but he was born at the Panama Canal.
Really, I know
So
that.
like, yeah, the military bases. If you're born on a military base, that counts as American
Yeah.
soil.
So then, what I would say then, if Congress has this discretion to define citizenship, then why don't they do it? Then Trump doesn't need to repeal birthright citizenship. He needs Congress to define it. He has this. He has Congress. So why doesn't he just get them to define it? But he wants it to be defined.
Well, the first thing is the last time we had immigration reform was Ronald Reagan, and
Yes.
neither party's been able to get anything since. Both parties inside the party have a split view on it.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people know this. Dana Perino, who was George W. Bush's press secretary, I listened to her podcast version. She had a good quote or a good thing she remembered as far as the conversation that during the Obama-Bush transition, Obama kind of asked Bush, like, what's the first thing you would tackle if you could? And George W. Bush said, immigration. History shows in our country it's the hardest thing to tackle. Now, Obama decided to go with healthcare, but it just shows that Bush wished he could have tackled immigration, but he did education, and then you had 9/11. He couldn't tackle it, right? The first time Trump came in, it was old school Republicans versus new Trump Republican thing. And then now you still have some old school Republicans on the House side, and that's a slimmer majority than the Senate.
Yeah.
And I will say this, they can't right now, the Republicans can't even get together on how to do reconciliation for spending, right? 1 bill, 2 bills, 3 bills. How do you get past all that? Like, they're far, far away from doing what we're talking about in immigration. I wish they would, but they don't have the margin to do that in the House, unfortunately. So I don't think they'll get it done, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's fair. Immigration is probably the most hard policy to tackle when it comes to political maneuvering, if you will. But yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, Reagan worked with Tip O'Neill, a Democrat, and was able to, finagle his way into a negotiation with it. It worked out pretty good. I think it's his second term, if I remember correctly.
Was it?
Well, we'll go ahead and go to our next thing, which is this I think is kind of the spirit, no pun intended, of the new Trump administration, which is the Frontier and for those of you who don't know, Frontier Airlines and Spirit Airlines are going to reapproach and retry to negotiate a deal on a merger. Okay. Now, if you remember, they had a deal, everything. They go to the FTC, and during the Biden administration, they said, no, you can't do that. A monopoly. And you're looking around going, okay, well, there's like 15 other airlines. Like, what monopoly is there? But meanwhile, I'll tell you this. The Biden administration will say, no, Food Lion grocery store chain of the East Coast. You can't buy 5 little grocery stores in a little county in North Carolina because that's, racketeering. That's monopoly. You can't do that. So they're not breaking up big tech. They're not breaking up social media, but they'll go after Ticketmaster, and then they don't let these deals go through. It's totally anti-business. And I think if Frontier and Spirit can work out a deal, Javen, and I want to know your thoughts. If they can work out a deal and the Trump administration approves it, do you think you will see more of these deals start to just flood the gates this summer?
I'd say
like these, and then actually I'll follow up with the second question next. Go ahead.
I'd say, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking the most recent one that was declined by the Biden administration in December of 24, when Albertsons tried to buy Kroger's, they stopped it because they said that it was become a monopoly. And then Albertsons like, what do you mean? You have Target and Walmart who are grocery stores. What do you mean we'll become monopoly? And they're like, no, those don't count as grocery stores. Those are because you buy clothes and etc. there. So, I mean, I think if this passes, we'll definitely see a lot more mergers. I'm all for. I love free market. I love when capitalism reigns. It's amazing to me. It brings tears to my eyes because that just means that the government's working. Monopolies only come about when the government intervenes. That's when you see monopolies. So I'm big on let the businesses do business. The government's role is the government's prime role is protecting property rights, enforcing contracts, and doing the main public goods that we all need as Americans, like national defense. So yeah, I would say we will see more of those mergers come along. And I mean, it's Spirit and Frontier. Come on. That's like having, I love Louisiana. It's like having Louisiana and Mississippi merge, and you think that they're going to overtake California and New York. Come on. So
No,
it's crazy to me.
Yeah, no, that's funny because these are like the bottom airlines. But about the Bilo deal, so I said racketeering. Food Lion and Bilo were racketeering. They were just talking more about monopoly. Racketeering is like when you collude on a deal and you do all this stuff. They were not racketeering, but the Biden administration, I don't have any comments off the top or any examples off the top of my head, but they used racketeering, from my understanding, as a reason to stop companies from merging together more than any other administration. And Bilo is just a poor grocery chain, and they wanted to sell off some stores to get some cash, and Food Lion was willing to buy them in some parts of North and South Carolina, and so they bought some, and the Biden administration stopped them from getting others because they'd have a monopoly in a certain amount of counties.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But Food Lion, but here's another thing that's crazy just in this deal to give people an idea. So Food Lion could have bought Bilo or could not buy Bilo, like for example, like in Gaston County. Okay, but if Food Lion wanted to open up a store across the street from that Bilo and then Bilo closed down, I guess that's fine. Like they can't stop that. So that's how detailed and stupid some of these things are.
Yeah, and it's to your previous question, Matt, when we talked about Trump's administration and how companies will try to merge more. I mean, let's look at the U.S. Steel deal, and they tried to merge with Nippon, and how it was blocked by the Biden administration. And Trump said, "I too will block this merger."
Mm-hmm.
So it is interesting that Trump is seen as this pro merger, pro capitalistic president, but at the same time he's blocking this deal, which if for those who aren't familiar. Nippon is pricing the name wrong. It's a Japanese company, and they were trying to buy U.S. Steel, but Trump and Biden were like, no, we're not going to send our jobs overseas, made in America. I get that, but if you are a true capitalist and you believe in supply and demand, you believe in free trade, etc., things like that, if it's cheaper to make it in Japan. And also, I'd get if it was China, North Korea, an enemy. Japan's one of our strongest allies. You get a country like that, if it's cheaper and we'll have cheaper goods here, then it should be a good thing for America. But they saw it as going against unions, and it was during election time, and you need unions to win an election. So I get political reasons why they did it, but policy-wise and economic-wise, it will hurt us in the long run, especially when it comes to building things with steel. And you're in America, a lot of things are made with steel.
No, I agree with that. I will say on the flip side, I do agree with breaking up some companies. Like, okay, I love capitalism too. Okay, but sometimes you got to break things up so there is more competition. Okay, and things do get too big, right? That's kind of like the Theodore Roosevelt. This I think if I remember correctly, don't hold me to it. I believe he's the one that began this idea of like breaking up big.
Yeah, he did.
Big companies. Like Google, I think owns like 75% of the search engines.
Yeah.
Right. You look at the only people that have the cell phone stuff. It's a case by case basis. And when it's a case by case basis, like the steel industry, like TikTok, even, you have to have a good explanation and you have to have a good leader who's willing to give a good business, national security, a good company, a good capitalistic reason to either break up or not break up or allow deals to go through.
Yeah.
And I don't think Joe Biden really gave us like reasons. Like, I'm not saying he's going to come tell us about Food Line Bilo. There's probably a bunch of these little things happening all across the country. But as far as, TikTok, the steel thing, give us a reason.
Yeah. And look,
what's the reason?
I want to talk to your point of breaking things up. And like I think you said Google and the Microsofts of the world. So first I want to preface, I respect Theodore Roosevelt for him going on after the antitrust. That was a fantastic move. But coming to 2025, if we go and look at how many subsidies and government contracts that Google and Microsoft got before they were this big company, we'll see that the government propped up these companies. Now they're trying to attack them, and they're still giving think about SpaceX. They're still propping them up. I mean, the government creates these barriers because the government right now, the government's not giving this mom and pop shop subsidies. They're giving these big corporation subsidies, but at the same time, they're saying they're being a monopoly. So that's why I truly believe if you get the government out the way, let the market decide, let the market do its job, then you'll have fair competition in our economy. And I truly do believe that if the government wasn't involved as they are now, you would, back to Google, you'll have more than Google and Bing, Yahoo's gone, but those search engines that are dominating and deciding what we see and don't see, and who sees our data, who doesn't see our data. I truly believe that the government is the issue here, not the solution.
It's funny you bring this up because you brought up Trump and Biden with the steel thing. The last time I can remember something similar to this was the Bush-Obama transition, right? We had the stock market crash, and then George W. Bush wanted to give a subsidy to the big car companies like Ford, and Senator Obama voted for it, and Senator McCain voted for it, and that was a thing on the debate stage talking about, John and I are working out with the current administration. And then who ends up passing a second stimulus, which was Barack Obama. So you had Bush, Obama, and McCain all on the same page to do this. It's sort of a uniparty issue, which is don't give subsidies, because then what ended up happening? Those CEOs took all that money and they ended up using a majority of it for their own bonus. It's okay if a company goes bankrupt and they can figure it out. There's different chapters. It doesn't mean they're gone. That's number one. Number two, if government wants to, quote unquote, get involved, then they need to change the tax code, right? Donald Trump's trying to tackle maybe the tariff thing or not tackle the tariff thing. I don't know. Those type of policies is what government can control, not giving a subsidy and hoping that, if we just keep pumping money into it, it'll be okay. No, those CEOs pocketed a lot of it for bonuses and then still laid people off.
Yeah.
And neither Bush or Obama took responsibility for it.
Yeah.
As a thing.
Yeah. I mean, and we don't want to go all the way back to 0708 like a history lesson, but I mean, to your point, 0708, you had Bush give him money or fund these big businesses, and then you have the Democrats saying we shouldn't do that. yeah, that you shouldn't do that. But then Obama goes and does it because I imagine Obama wasn't given the same information that Bush is given of, okay, if they do fail, this like the economy will fail as well. We'll go into a second depression. And I
Well, I
truly
mean, he was a
believe,
senator and probably had what is it? Within like 90 days of the election, you get to have intel
yeah,
briefings and stuff too.
yeah,
I think it's just the uniparty thing. I
yeah.
mean, think about this. I think that was more political for George Bush. 2006, he gets swamped. Nancy Pelosi becomes speaker for the first time, and he just didn't care.
Yeah.
He just started
I
signing
mean,
whatever. I
yeah.
mean, George Bush raised the minimum wage, did all these liberal things.
Yeah. And I truly do believe that these businesses were probably too big to fail, that they felt the whole system would fail. I truly do believe that. But they were created by the government. I mean, the government made them this big. I truly do believe the government didn't start pumping them with all this cash and influence. We wouldn't be in that situation. And I'm not going to get down the whole Federal Reserve rabbit hole, but that's a whole different beast. I would love to tackle. But yeah, I mean, the government just made these businesses too big to fail. That's why I still believe the government is the issue with inflation, recession, etc. Well, recession and inflation are natural, but on the scale we have it, I think government's the issue.
I agree. And I'm making our next tag here because we're going to go to the next segment, which is, so I got this right, which is the 2026 Michigan Senate race. Is it already heating up? For those of you who don't know, do you know where Mayor Pete's from? Do you know? Tell me what state.
He's from. I can name this. I can name the city. Bend. What's it? Bend. Something. Bend.
South Bend. Do you know where that is?
Is it Illinois? Or no, Indiana. Indiana.
Something well, did you know when he became the Secretary of Transportation, he moved to the UP? Hey, where we went kayaking there,
yeah.
and he's kind of been hanging out, talking about running for Senate in 2026. Somebody else is considering running for the 2026 race. Two big names: Pete Buttigieg on the left and Tony Dungy on the right. Both of them, ironically, big names in Indiana. Tony Dungy, for those of you who don't know, head coach of the Indianapolis Colts when they won the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. He's on ABC or NBC for Sunday Night Football. Still does announcing. Very quiet guy, kind of like Ben Carson, but very softly conservative. I don't know how I see that going. Also, I'm surprised Peter Buttigieg wants to run in Michigan. And then the Michigan incumbent senator just announced he's not running for re-election in 2026. Just want to get your thoughts on that while I fix this up here.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So Gary Peters, he's not running again. He's a Democrat from Michigan. It's first, I wonder why he's not running, why he's not seeking re-election. I don't think he really gave an answer why he's retiring. I don't think he really gave an answer there. But if I'm not mistaken, he was a Democrat, but he was a pretty mild Democrat compared to what we have now. Look, Pete Buttigieg, I know he has high hopes. You'll, if you get the joke, love it. But he has high hopes for this election. Could he win? Michigan is a blue area. Well, actually, it's not. Trump.
I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna show you.
I mean, thinking about the mayor. I mean, the mayor is. I mean, that's the governor.
So look at this. So Trump won 2024. Which, tell me, can you see? Do you see Trump and Kamala on here?
Yeah. We see this.
Okay, so this is Trump and Kamala. Okay, so Trump wins 2,000 or 2,800,000 votes. Or 2008, whatever, 2.8. She wins 2.7. Now we're gonna go back over here. Look at that, and there's a lot of people who they didn't vote third party. There's just a lot of people who show up, vote for president, and that's all they do, and they just stick it in the thing.
Yeah.
So 48%, 49%. Trump clearly turns out voters in Michigan, but he's not going to be on the ballot. And even when he's not on the ballot, it's still close. Now, here's the last time a U.S. Senate race was up. Now, this John James guy is now a congressman. He ran, I believe, in 2018 and lost for a Senate race there, barely. Same kind of thing. Gary Peters is the guy resigning, which we'll click on his profile in a second. Again, super close. The state's trending red.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has it in him to have to do another tight race. I mean, we can look at this broken down by congressional district. And keep in mind, too, this is the election Joe Biden won. Okay, this is during COVID, too, and this guy almost pulled it off. So this is how close it is. And here, let's just click Gary Peters because you asked me how old he is. Let's see. He is 66. I mean, this dude
He's young.
got another 30 years. I mean, Chuck Grassley's 92. This guy could go.
Yeah.
This guy could be Senator Pro Tem by the time he hits 100. But that's kind of like how tight this race is, Michigan.
Yeah.
That if he's retiring, he must see the writing on the wall in Michigan because Pete Buttigieg wants to take a stab at it. Whitmer doesn't want to run. She might run for president. Do you think she might have a better chance running for president? Or do you think she'll run for president over U.S. Senate? I mean, obviously, actually, I would say that because she clearly hasn't announced yet.
Yeah. I mean, she would have better chance of U.S. Senate than president. She will not be president of the United States. I'm going to say this, and I will say it. Our first woman president will be a Republican. It's going to happen. Our first woman president is going to be Republican, unless there is a woman vice president on the Democrat side, and that president steps down, which I thought Biden was going to do, honestly. But first is going to be a Republican. So, I mean, I think she would run for Senate as her best chance. If she runs for Senate, obviously Pete won't run for senator. He might run for governor there, which would be so odd. I wouldn't vote for him even if I was Democrat because you're not from here. It's like, why are you running for governor? I mean, but you have a lot of people who aren't from their state and they run for governor and Senate. I mean, think about John Kennedy in Louisiana. He's not from Louisiana. He's from Illinois. But then again, he's
been in politics in Louisiana for a long
he's been in politics
time.
for a while, but Pete has not. I mean, he just has his name going for him. I mean, if he runs for Senate, he might have a good shot, honestly, because he's not a radical left. He's close. He reminds me of an Obama with his politics, so it could win the day for him.
Yeah, and I want to make another point. You made a good point. So Tommy Tuberville had lived in Alabama his whole life, had a whole career as a coach of, I believe, it's Auburn. He technically was living in Florida when he was thinking about it in the Panhandle, and then had to move back to Alabama to announce. It's also like, where are your connections? Where are you running? Like when you get that big, people kind of tend to, like Tommy Tuberville's name is not really known in Florida. Like he's like, the people in Miami ain't gonna be voting for you anytime soon. But it's big in Alabama. Tony Dungy, I mean, yeah, it's big in Indiana, but he just lives in Michigan. So he's been hanging out there doing some career stuff. This is, for those of you who don't know, this is his career. He's only 69, so he's 3 years older than Gary. He'd probably be a 1 or 2 termer. I don't, if you listen, the fact that he's on the news cable and doing these games kind of should tell you that he's very well spoken. He's just soft spoken, which then you start to get into those Ben Carson vibes a little bit. As far as like, okay, you've got upbeat Booty Judge over here, and then you got soft spoken Tony Dungy. So far, that's where the race is going. You saw the other names potentially on there that you were reading. I would love to see Tony Dungy go for it. I like the idea of these football guys, especially the conservative ones, getting into it. Except maybe Herschel Walker. I thought I was just kind of rooting for Herschel Walker just because of the cool of the football thing.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the idea of these guys running. Like, for example, Nick Saban's a Democrat. He's in Alabama. If he ever ran for U.S. Senate in Alabama as a Democrat, he would make that state, or at least that seat, purple. There's enough people who love the Crimson Tide that would vote for him just because of that.
That's true. I'd vote for, I don't know. I'd vote for Coach O if he was Democrat back in Louisiana. I'd vote for him for Senate, 100%. I'd vote for Joe Burrow if he ran for governor. If he was Democrat, I'd vote for him. We love the football one down here. But I mean, that's a good point. The juxtaposition between Tony and Pete, because you have Pete who is that charismatic, out of the box guy. Tony, who's not an introvert by any means, he's a newscaster, but he is soft spoken. So it's. I wonder, do you think, is that going to play a role in the election? Are voters going to care about if he's soft spoken versus someone who's charismatic?
So I think Mitch McConnell said it right one time. Like, presidential, governor, Senate, and congressional races, they're all different. Like, I'll say this: if Herschel Walker ran for U.S. House seat, he would have won.
Yes, I agree.
Okay,
I agree.
U.S. Senate and governor are two different races. There is a lens in which voters, and I do it too, look at you and go, I don't know if I want that guy making decisions. Like, I kind of like him as a, this, and then your current position also has people look at you a certain way. Like Congressman DeSantis is different than Governor DeSantis, right?
Yeah.
And the way you campaign projects that, right? Like, I think, like, I was just giving you an example. Governor DeSantis is not a good campaigner.
Yeah.
He's a great governor. I mean, I could personally see him doing what he's doing in Florida as president of the United States. But if people aren't following politics as closely as you and I are, and they just listening to him talk, he's kind of high pitched Luke Skywalker whining.
Yeah,
like just the way he talks.
I think I told you I have a personal story about him. I'm not going to share it publicly, but I have a personal story about him. I was like, wow, that's him, huh? If I haven't told you, I'll tell you offline. But it's
tell me offline. Tell me offline there. But or JD Vance. I don't get. I mean, JD Vance is probably one of the best VP picks I think I've seen.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't know. Like, I think he's better than Pence. He's better than Harris, obviously, and Walls, and he's just of my lifetime. Like, as far as like bringing actual beef to a ticket, like, he's a very charismatic guy. He's relatable. He's got a family. Like, he's just like the average American almost. Like, oh, I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying you kind of it reminds you of yourself or like a little older brother. Running for president in a primary, I don't know if could. I know he's smart and witty, but like, I don't know if I get commander in chief, strong vibes from him.
Yeah.
Like, you know who I would like right now that I get strong commander and vibes from? Greg Abbott. Just the way he speaks, the way he commands a room.
Yeah.
Sort of a little lower tone voice. I know he's in a wheelchair, but damn, dude.
No, yeah. So for him, that like, it kind of adds to it. Like, he's in a wheelchair.
So he's in a wheelchair. He's seen some shit. Oh, but yeah. You're sitting there. You're telling me. You're asking me like, okay, do I think it matters in the U.S. Senate race in Michigan for that race? Yeah, I do. But here's the thing. It's going to depend on how we're entering 2026. If people are thinking, oh, things are so crazy and chaotic. Maybe they go with Tony Dungy because he's a little bit soft-spoken and they're kind of leaning Republican. It's like, okay, I'll go with the soft-spoken guy. But if the Republicans aren't answering and we need a little bit of spice and crazy and the Democrats are jacked up on something and they got a good argument, then they will go with Pete Buttigieg. It's one of those coin flip things for at least that Michigan race.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go. It depends on where we are in 2026. If people feel as if the Republicans are following through on their promises and doing things that people like, then Tony has a good shot if he runs. And then if not, we'll see the Democrats taking that seat in Michigan like they've held it. Like, Republicans aren't doing much, so we'll just take it. But you also brought in a good point. I'm thinking about Louisiana, how you say Mitch McConnell saying everything's different. It totally is. And I saw this firsthand in 2016 when Eddie Risponi was running for governor. He reminded me of Trump, and I was like, I like this guy, businessman. He's a Trump guy, but it didn't happen in Louisiana. Who I think in 2016 was the biggest turnout for Trump in the whole country. Eddie Trump, who Trump endorsed, did not win. People don't like that on a state level. And if Trump ran for president and governor in 2016 in Louisiana as he was then, he would not have won governor because people don't want that. People want to know who their governor is. You want to feel like they're from your area and you know them. So yeah, so you brought it in a very good point there.
I'm gonna show my screen here just to remind people. In 2018, the Republicans gained, as you can see here, 4 U.S. Senate seats. Okay, which some of this is obvious. Like, okay, we took back North Dakota, we took Indiana, Florida was kind of the big surprise one, and Missouri. Okay, what did they lose? Democrats gained 41 seats. They gained 7 governorships, even Kansas. So Senate, like Mitch McConnell said, Senate races are different.
Yeah,
you can play them differently. Okay, where the House and governor's races may go, the Senate may not necessarily go. Right, and you can look at this 2018 one is more of a realignment, I guess. Like he didn't pick up Ohio, but he might pick up Ohio this next time.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a seat we need to watch for too. Is the Ohio Senate seat, JD Vance's seat. What's gonna happen there?
has he not appointed anybody yet?
No,
No, he did. He put the lieutenant governor.
Did he?
Yeah, he appointed the lieutenant.
See,
And
I've
then
been focused on state politics. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and DeSantis picked the attorney general. Oh yeah, they needed that by whatever time to get people confirmed.
Wait, DeSantis? No, I mean JD Vance's seat.
Yeah. Ohio, DeWine picked Lieutenant Governor of Ohio.
Oh, you're saying JD Vance for attorney general?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I heard that one.
Right. And then Marco's seat
Hello, Marco.
went to the attorney general. Went to the attorney general's seat. So yeah, that was crazy how that's going. Oh no, don't show that one. Cool. All right, we ready for rant and raves? Anything else you want to bring up? We can just randomly talk about. We got some filler time here.
Yeah, no, I'm confirmation. I'm sure we've all been
Rant and raves.
All right. Well, we'll let you take on your rant and rave, Dave, and give it to us first. And we could we have some time. We could talk a little detailed into it.
So mine is kind of a rant and rave, or none of the above. It's odd, but I want to talk about this DeepSeek from China, their AI model, the challenge to NVIDIA and ChatGPT. So I have a couple of things there. So when it first hit, it was bizarre. I'm like, what are you talking about? This DeepSeek from AI from China, it's better than ours. That's crazy. So for those who don't know, yeah, that's what it is. China has created a ChatGPT, but apparently I've used it. It is a little bit better, but it's funny. Actually, I looked up. Tell me about Tiananmen Square, the rebellion, the guy in front of the tank. Nothing. Okay. It started and it said, "Sorry, I can't tell you about that." So China definitely has their hands on that. Yeah, that one's obvious, like TikTok. But so here's my thing about that. The next day, stocks plummeted. NVIDIA plummeted.
Yeah.
My rant with this is, since when did we take China's word on anything? We took their word on this company being worth this much, on this company being better than on a whole, being better than Americans, and taking their word that they didn't use American technology. Because actually, that's an investigation that NVIDIA is doing. NVIDIA believes that China used their chips to create this program. If that's true, then the hype was for nothing, because we can do the same thing. We just need to learn how to do it. So there's that. That's the one rant. Second rant is, if it is true, why is America behind? Why are we slacking that much? Like Trump said, China told him that America had the best scientists, the best programmers. If we did, we need to show them hard that America is number one when it comes to AI and technology, because we are. We have the best scientists, the best people, and I know we can outpace any country in the whole wide world. My rave is, and Trump said this actually. I was like, wow, I'm so proud of you for saying that. He said, if it is true, this is great. Competition is great. It shows that we need to step up our game, that maybe we aren't doing the best that we need to be doing. So it's great that we have healthy competition with another country. Hate that it's China, but it's good we having this competition. Now, I will blame Biden administration more than Trump's administration, but Biden administration on this, because they did the microchip ban to China, which I get. It is a good thing, but it required China to do its own thing, do its own research, go other ways, which I think helped them build. I mean, if you're a grocery store and you're realizing that you're being blocked from all suppliers in your area, you're going to start outsourcing somewhere else, and you might find a better deal somewhere else, which can then undercut your competition, which will then put them out of business. So I think that kind of helped China improve their systems when it comes to DeepSeek. But all in all, I hope that China is not outdoing us. I hope this competition is good, but I hope that we can come out of this, because we just had $20 million investment. with SoftFi, and I hope that that works out, and we can. And that's another thing, seeing if that actually sticks. So far, it's still sticking. It's still going strong. Even though Elon Musk doesn't like it, he said there's no money there. I still think it's going to be successful, and America will dominate the AI space as we should, and as we're supposed to be, the world domination across the world.
Wow.
That was my winded rant slash.
No, that
rave.
was good. Like Professor Javen talk there, because even the competition between countries is almost capitalistic in and of itself.
Yeah.
With like tariffs and all that stuff. Like if you go up your 10,000-foot view, if you go up 100,000 feet, oh, it is capitalistic.
Yes.
In that way. My rant and rave, because I came from big tobacco, is and you know how many people I worked with in big tobacco who would constantly tell me menthol's under attack, and I would say, well, that's because of the Democrats, and they would say, nah. And then, you know, Joe Biden, as soon as he gets in, it starts the FDA review to ban menthol cigarettes. And then they start freaking out like, well, we got to cozy up to the FDA so they can work with us. And I would say, well, Joe Biden is just not going to do it because he needs the black vote, because that's the reason why Obama didn't ban it. And he got rid of all the other flavors, because his constituencies there. Then they tried to go through Congress, and it was Republicans in the Black Caucus, like I said, that would vote for him. And people were like, whoa, I'm surprised. And then I said, well, if Trump wins, they ain't gonna ban it. But if Biden wins, they're gonna ban it, because at that point, Biden doesn't have anything to lose. We know that because he pardoned his whole family. He has nothing to lose. He'll just do it anyway. Now he'll hurt certain people of the Democrat Party, but he doesn't want to tarnish his legacy as one of those people. Well, in December, Biden administration takes big step to banning menthol, and then Trump gets in. Oh, we're going to pull the menthol ban on cigarettes, because it should go through Congress like Obama did. The Family Tobacco Act in 2009 banned everything but menthol. And so my rant is that some of these companies, they don't want to be partisan, so they try not to see it, but they need to kind of see the partisanship and just know where their allies are. It's not in Joe Biden. It's in Donald Trump. He's pro business, and RFK is not going to ban it. You know, he's going to keep the warnings on there. We've gone through all that litigation, but my rant is just for some of those corporate people. Keep it real, man. Because I see on LinkedIn, I got a lot of liberal tobacco people. Somebody put like, oh, that's the Trump administration, and they just went off on them. No, it's not. The FDA realized that we sold them on this, and this. Give me a break. It's not. Donald Trump won. Give me a break. There's some of these people, because some of the tobacco companies, they're woke. And so they've been sold this crap, and they just can't see past. They think that it's because they magically sold them on the science or whatever. It's not. It's not.
Well, I learned something new. Okay, good. I learned something new today.
Yeah, I like following the tobacco stuff from the industry. So it's pretty interesting. Well, cool, man. Another good show.
It was a fun show. Great show. I loved it. Time flies. You having fun?
It does fly whenever. We'll have to do another surprise show, Javen, at some point.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I would love to do that. Blaine, thanks for engaging with us today, man. We do appreciate that.
Thank you, Blaine. We appreciate it. Feel free to follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on X, the whole 9 yards. And then we will see y'all next week. Appreciate it, guys.